Hey everybody, welcome back to Landshark's Garage. Hope you had a great new year. We sure did. Appreciate all the support we've gotten for our channel from you guys. Today we're gonna try and put this small block Chevy out of this 68 C10 back together so we can put it in the Camaro. Got to change out this rocker stud that had the rocker arm ran against it and cut the side of it, so I've got to put a new rocker stud in there. I was going to try and take out a press-in rocker stud from this old motor and repress it back in there instead of putting in a screw-in stud. It just seemed like an easier way to go, but after messing around with that motor over there, trying to get the rocker studs out of there and gacking all the threads on that rocker stud, I decided that probably was not the right way to go. I was told you could pull that rocker stud out of there, throw it in the freezer for a while, that'll make it shrink down just a little bit, and then just put it back in the hole here and then pin it. But that didn't work out that way when I started trying to pull both them rocker studs over here. I was just using a nut with a thread puller, or it's not a thread puller, the stud puller. This little tool right here, you put on there and it just pulls the old one out. That's what I was using, and I kept ruining the threads on the nuts that I was using. So it appeared that I was going to be going through a lot of 3/8 fine threaded nuts, which are not in big supply here at Landshark Garage. So I'm going to pull this one and put a screw-in stud in there against my better judgment. I'm going to have to figure out a way to go around this while I'm cutting threads for the 7/16 screw-in stud. The screw-in stud and the regular studs are both have the same height, so that's not going to be an issue. It's just that this, I'll have a almost full set of screw-in rocker studs, because when you buy them, you buy 18 at a time, or I'm sorry, 16 at a time, and I'm only going to use the one out of this. From my stock, I got a rocker arm and fulcrum and nut. I bought a new lifter, had a push rod. That's the water pump that we're going to put on. We talked about that in the last video, using the short water pump versus the long water pump. This is the long version of the water pump. This is the rocker arm and stud and push rod off of the exhaust side of that cylinder, because I had to take it off to, when you'll see when we start trying to cut threads there on how that works. So I got the boys helping me today. We got a little ice on the floor. Balmy 13 below zero this morning when we woke up. We're above zero now, but we were down in the 20 belows here day before yesterday. So let's get after this. Not down. That's just the fulcrum from the middle of the rocker arm. I just had some extra ones from that 350 over there that gave me the problems this morning. So maybe the problem I had over there was using an air impact instead of just using this DeWalt. Yeah, so the one I don't care about saving is coming out perfectly. Ouch. I might go over and try and pull one of them out of there yet. I get some gloves on so I can show you the kerf in that cut that was just there. Mrs. Lion Shark and I got matching gloves for Christmas. You know how many times I've tried to put hers on? Matching gloves! So here's what that rocker arm did. Cut this in here. I had a guy tell me I could just weld this up while it was sitting on there. But I don't know. I think I'm going to try and pull a stud out of that motor over there. Come on with me. Ooh, Jake's loving his ice. For some reason, these dogs just love to eat ice. Okay, we're going to try and do the same thing on this motor and see if we can get one to use. Because I really want to do the... I want to put one in there pressed in just because I've never done that before. This motor is... nothing wrong with it. We're going to rebuild it, but I'm betting when we rebuild it, we'll put probably aluminum heads on it. So. There we go. Came out of there pretty nice. So what I'm going to do now is just throw it in the freezer for a while I'm getting all my gasket surfaces cleaned up, get my oil pan on, get my intake ready to put on, stuff like that. And that'll allow this to get nice and cold. And then it should help it tap down in there a lot better. I guess we'll find out. I think maybe I probably should have been using the rocker nuts that came with it instead of the ones that I went and bought, because it really didn't do any damage at all to that nut when I was taking apart them other ones. It was just eating them alive. Take this off. It's just sitting on here. So we got a new lifter to put in there. So Santa Claus brought me this really nice bore scope for Christmas. He must have went off of Mortsky Repair's recommendation on what he would get for a bore scope. This is a, I don't know if you can see that or not, Model 40 MS450 NTC test long. I used it a little bit in the house. I kind of want to take a look at what's going on down in that lifter bore. So we're going to give her a run and see what happens. The cool thing I found with this is, in addition to being that much cable, it's got cameras on both sides. It's got 2 cameras in it plus the light. So like when you're looking down this lifter bore, which is what we're going to do, should be able to turn a light on in there, and then I can record what I'm doing and we should be able to show it to you. There we go. It's got a pretty nice screen. So this should take us right down that lifter bore. let us look right at the lobe of that cam. Like I said, I didn't really think I had a problem with it before. It looks okay to me. And here's another shot. Everything looks okay that I can see anyway. This is the lobe on the lifter that we're worried about, and it looks pretty good to me. I'm trying to figure out how to shut that light down a little bit. Yeah, it looked good visually, but I wanted to play with this bore scope a little bit. This is the side view of the lifter next to this cylinder. You know, it'd be the exhaust lifter and stuff. Kind of shows you how it rides on the camshaft there. And then you can go down and take a look at how everything's working there. Kind of see how things are riding. So this is going to be handy. Go in here and take a look at this valve. Turn the light up on it so you can really see. We can take it out. Take a look at this dog. Yeah, this would be kind of cool to see how that looks in there. Well, we'll take a little time and clean things up. Get ready to put everything back together. I think we'll put the oil pan gasket on for oil pan on first. Right, Jake? Huh, buddy? Should we do that first? I love to use these Permatorque Fel-Pro gaskets because you can just keep reusing them. They always seal up nice. Well, for some reason, I got a new camera. I got a Hero 10. I had a Hero 9 before. For some reason it shut down for being too hot. I've never had that happen. Look out. So all you missed out on was me putting the rest of these bolts in, which isn't too exciting anyway, but I've never had my other one do that. I'd have to look into that. Can't have that happening. That'd drive a guy nuts. At least they gave me warning. I think I said this when we took this apart. Small block Chevy oil pans. It's got 4 1/2-inch headed 3/8 bolts. And then it's got 14 7/16 headed bolts to hold it in. Big bolts go on the corners by your, right here and here, in the back, front. Mrs. Landshark and I are going on vacation here this week. We're going to drive down to sunny Texas, someplace we've never been. Spend a little time looking at things down there. We'll probably take you along with us in case we come across some hot rods or any place that when we go on vacation, if it's car related, we go take a look at it. So you'll be able to come along on that. We're going to leave the beautiful tundra of South Dakota where it's supposed to be below 0 for the next week. Head down that way. We'll get this intake surface ready for reinstallation here. I use the Permatex Ultra Black on this part of the block, and on this part of the block the gasket sets come with that gasket, but I don't use it. I've only seen one guy that actually insists on using that quart gasket that comes with the intake gaskets. I've seen plenty of them blow out. I've never seen this ultra black gasket material blow out, so I'm going to stick with it. Try not to get everything down in the lifter valley here. Get it all cleaned up. I like to use a razor blade first, and then I'll go with a carbide scraper. I'm not big on powered scrapers, powered gasket removers. I do have some, but I kind of feel like they can take away some of the metal, so I try not to use them. Just do it the old-fashioned way. Try and get everything cleaned up, ready to rock, and put that new water pump on, so we need a gasket there. Get this done, we're going to put that rocker stud back in. If that all goes well, we'll set the two valves that we disrupted. I'm not going to go through and set them all, there's no reason to. I'll set the two that we disrupted and see if we can get this rocker stud to go in. I've seen several schools of thought on how this should go. People that think you shouldn't. Hammer it in there. And then there's a bunch that are like, yep, you can do it that way. Some say you should press it. Okay, there we go. A little bit of Loctite. Well, this definitely isn't going to be cold anymore, that's for sure. I like this gel type Loctite. It'll make a big mess. Getting close. There we go. Get out of there. That's still a little high. Probably won't reuse that, not again ever. There we go, pretty happy with that. Nuts in the garbage already. Alright, so we got that in there. Went in about as easy as it pulled out, so pretty happy with that. New lifter, I'm going to use some Lucas assembly lube to put the lifter in. little bit on the back of it. This stuff just stays sticky forever. I'll probably pour the rest of it in the engine, because once we get to going with this, this is probably going to sit for a little while, so it doesn't hurt to have a little looby-doo on things. Now, so other people said you should take the head off to put that in. I have driven rocker studs in before. I pinned rocker studs. Guy could do that too, but we're not really doing anything great with this motor. It doesn't have a lot of spring pressure on the cam. It doesn't got a big lopey cam. Doesn't have a lot of spring pressure, so not real worried about it. If we decide we want to put a little squirrelier motor in it, we'll probably go with aluminum heads anyway, as opposed to these stock heads. They're all right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfect for what they are, and they're fairly new heads. We bought these heads and put them on the C-10, so we bought them remanufactured. So there's nothing wrong with the heads, but just for cruising the streets and stuff, we don't want to get super nuts about it yet. If we do, we'll make some changes. All right, so now that that's in there, we're gonna put the rocker arm and push rod back on for the exhaust side, and then we'll do the same thing on on the intake side here, which I have brand new rocker arm and stud, fulcrum and whatnot. I should have kept some of that assembly lube to put in there. Excuse me, buddy. Run these down. So I'm just going to put them on loose like that. And how I like to do it is bring it up so it's top dead center on this cylinder, and then do both of them at the same time, where I can see the lifters and see where they're at in the lifter run. You know, so it's on the compression stroke, top dead center. You can adjust both of these and take the lash out of them. You're taking this part out. People spin these. That isn't always a good indicator. As long as you get this lash part out, I kind of do both. You know, I spin it and lash it, and then I go about a half a turn once I got that cylinder set. And then if we had to do the other ones, I'd go through and do each cylinder one at a time as we go around. But I don't have to, because all these other ones are set. We didn't mess with them, so we should not have to do anything to adjust them. Get this to come up on. I'll back that back up. able to see that. Okay, so once again, I'm bringing this back up on top dead center. I got my thumb over the spark plug hole. I figure out this overheating camera issue yet. So what I did when I was turning the other one over, I was using a 1/2-inch ratchet. And all that does is just loosen this. So I saw this trick on the internet where you just put 3 bolts in there and you can use that to pry around. And I'm going to try and get these two to be static so that they're not moving while I'm trying to get it up on top dead center on that number 2. So you can see the exhaust coming up there, and then it's going to go down. Intake's going to come up, so that'd be where it's taking in fuel. And then this is going to be the compression stroke. You can hear it coming out. So that's about where you want to be. That should be both valves closed. Everything's loose. Yeah, you can move stuff. Now I'll do my adjusting there and take the lash out of this. This is the lash going back and forth like that. So I'll do that with a socket and a hand wrench. Okay, when you get that where there's no movement there, you see that there's no movement at all. So then they say you should set some preload on that. So I like to back it off till I get it to just move, and then go a 1/2 a turn, and that should be enough preload on that. But knowing that this is the only ones that I messed with, if I think I'm having a valve train issue when I start it, I know it's this cylinder. So now this is the one we replaced, and this one's not tight at all. So we're going to tighten that down the same way. Okay, can't see how that got a little to go there. Get that loaded up. There we go. So now you got just a little bit of turning in there. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna go that 1/2 a turn, and those should be done. If anything, they're a little loose, so that I'll have some clatter instead of having it overly tight and then having issues with that. Now I'll take my bolts back out of here, put that intake on, get this bad boy buttoned up, put the water pump on. I like this way of turning the harmonic balancer. You got just 3 bolts. Really made it easier to move around on. So I've got all the Lucas assembly lube in there. I won't put any oil in this until we get ready to stick it in the Camaro. Just get rid of the bits and pieces and see if I can put you right here while we're doing this intake. These are the gaskets I was talking about that go on the ends that I never use. Well, I do use them. I use them for basketball practice by throwing it in the garbage. There's usually a distributor gasket in with that too. I've already got that on the distributor. We're not putting the distributor back. We're putting the distributor back in today, but just to put it in there. You know what I mean? It's not going to be set down or anything. It's just to plug the hole. So these Velcro 1204s got the block off plate in them. They'll go on just like this. Both sides. Black gasket material across there, and then we'll set the intake in there. I still have to clean the intake up, and I like to put just some black silicone along here to hold that in place. Get my intake bolts all ready. Some silicone on, or some thread sealant on them. Nobody. Yeah, that. Okay. We're gonna have to clean up the intake a little bit. Both sides, and we'll be ready to stick everything together here. Okay, well, we had more heat issues, but anyway, I just got to clean this up a little bit. There's not much to do on it. Get it ready to go. Take off some of this silicone. So these have a right way up and a wrong way up, if you look at them. This is the right way up. And I like to just put a bead right across this surface here. Right, Jake? Make sure it meets up good with that intake gasket. Same way on the back. Go around the oil pressure sensor port. Gasket's got a little hoodinkus in it for some reason. There we go. Make sure everything looks good there. Get this pulled up where it's supposed to be. That there, that there. I already put thread sealant on the intake manifold bolts because some of them go into water jackets, so you want to make sure and do that. Doesn't take a lot of thread sealant on the bolts. I usually put it on one and then grab a mate to it and do like this to coat the other one. You don't have to overdo it. These two middle ones are such a booger usually to tighten down. Then I just go around with a 3/8" wrench, which is a 12.2, you know. And I torque them. There's actually a torque spec like 20 foot-pounds on these, but I'm pretty comfortable with them just being snug. Like I said, I'm just dropping this in there to plug the hole and have a place to store it. I'm not even gonna tighten it down. It's just gonna sit like that. I've got my carry plate, or my motor plate, I mean. Put that on there to plug that hole. So you gotta put this water pump on. Same thing here. Put the thread sealant on the bolts before you put them in, because they definitely go into the water jacket on this. Just make sure them threads are evenly covered. I usually use high-tack thread sealant on water pump gaskets, but it doesn't appear that I have any, so we'll just do the same thing we did with the intake gasket, just to give it a reason to stick. Go around the ports completely. I went out and found the painting valve covers, is what we call them. So today we went ahead and replaced this rocker stud, rocker arm, push rod, and lifter after we dropped it on its way back from Mitchell, South Dakota several months ago. We pulled this motor out of Mrs. Landshark's 68 C-10, dropped a 400 small block in that we had sitting on the floor. We tore this one apart a couple episodes ago, or last episode. We tore it apart anyway. Found out that the damage wasn't as bad as we thought it might be. So we went ahead and fixed this up. We're gonna take it, put it in the 80 Camaro when we get time to do that. So this one's just sitting around waiting now. Got that done. Put the long water pump on it like the Camaro has. Part number on that water pump is a 43101. I can't tell you how many of them I've bought. But that's the long version of a small block Chevy water pump, brand new. Went ahead and put some assembly lube in there to keep things fresh and rust free. When we do put the oil in, I'll add this Lucas Zinc Plus, TB Zinc Plus. I put it in all my motors. They say it's for break-in, but zinc is what keeps camshafts alive, so I put this in with every oil change if I can help it. Otherwise I put some other kind of additive in. We got the oil pan back on. Everything's buttoned down and back together. Mrs. Landshark and I are heading out for Texas this week. Gonna drive from South Dakota to Texas and back. 10 days. Don't have no real plans. Just gonna go take in Texas because we've never been there. Thanks for following along. We appreciate it. We love that you guys like what we're doing on our channel. We're looking forward to working on this thing. Doing some interior work next is the plan. Gonna see if the floors are in good shape or what they're like. Then we'll go through and do some body work, put the motor in it, do some front suspension work on this. I don't know that it needs it, but we got the brakes and stuff. We're gonna have it apart. I think we'll upgrade some of the bushings and stuff like that. We'll put this 350 in there. Like I said, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. You got comments? Leave them down below. We love to answer comments. That's one of the best parts of doing this. And hey folks, never forget, drive your shit. We'll see ya.